Abhinamuchalam Varatanam Bhaktyamritam Sundaram Vande Vishwakuruncha Divya Bhagavat Premno Hi Bijapradam Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Bhavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaurate Senama. So we are continuing this morning with our hearing of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Mahaprabhu has reached Prayag after visiting Vrindavan. He has met with Rup and Anupam there, and they have together met with this Vaishnava Brahmin, Vallabha Bhatta, who later became known as Vallabha Acharya. And Vallabhacharya invited Mahaprabhu to his home for lunch. So we'll continue from there. Jai Shri Gurudev. Prabhu Prema Veshar, Prabhu Bhakti Sar, Sandar Jadi Deki Bhatter, Hoilo Chamatkar. When he saw the Lord's ecstatic love, Vallabha Bhattacharya was certainly very much astonished. He was also astonished by the Lord's knowledge of the essence of devotional service, as well as by his personal beauty and influence. Sagane prabhore bhatta nokate chadhaya, pikadite ninjagore cholila haloya. Vallabha Bhattacharya then put Mahaprabhu and his associates aboard a boat and took them to his own place to offer them lunch. Jamunar Jaldeki Chikan Chamal, Prema Veshe Mahaprabhu Hoila Vival. While crossing the river Jamuna, Mahaprabhu saw the glossy black water, and was immediately bewildered with ecstatic love. Unkar kodi jamunar jole dila japa, Prabhu deki sabar mone hoilo boy kappa. Indeed, as soon as Mahaprabhu saw the river Jamuna, he immediately made a great sound and jumped into the water. Everyone was filled with fear and trembling to see this. Aste vyaste sobe dodi Prabhu de uttalila, they all hastily grabbed Mahaprabhu and pulled him out of the water. Once on the boat's platform, the Lord began to dance. Mahaprabhu bode noka kore talamal, dubite lagilo noka jalake bode jal. Due to the Lord's heavy weight, the boat began to tilt. It began filling up with water and was on the verge of sinking. Yajapi bhatterage prabhur darya oilo man, durvar udbhatta prema nahe samvadan. Mahaprabhu tried to restrain himself as far as possible before Vallabha Acharya. But although he tried to keep calm, his ecstatic love could not be checked. Deshapatra deki Mahaprabhu darya hoilo, aidaler gatte noka siutadilo. Seeing the circumstances, Mahaprabhu finally became calm, so that the boat was able to reach the shore of Adailo and land there. Boye bhatta sange rohe, so this is a village, Adaila, where presumably Vallabha Bhatta lives. Fearing for the Lord's welfare, Vallabha Bhattacharya stayed in his association. After arranging for his bath, the Bhattacharya took the Lord to his own house. Anandita hoya bhatta dilo divyasan, apane kodilo prabhur pada prakshalan. When Mahaprabhu arrived at his home, Vallabha Bhattacharya, being greatly pleased, offered the Lord a nice sitting place and personally washed his feet. Savam shese jol mashtake dodilo, nutan kopina bahir vasa parailo. Vallabha Bhattacharya and his whole family then sprinkled that water over their heads. They then offered the Lord new underwear and outer garments. Ganda pushpa dupa dipe mahapuja koilo, Bhattacharya manya kori paka korailo. Vallabhacharya worshipped the Lord with great pomp, offering scents, incense, flowers, and lamps, and with great respect he induced Vallabhacharya to cook. Pika korailo prabode sasne hajatane, rupa gosai dui baye korailo bhojane. Thus Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was offered lunch with great care and affection. The brothers Rupa Goswami and Sri Vallabha were also offered food. Bhattacharya Shri Rupe Deo Yailo Avashesh, Tobe se Prasad Krishna Das Pailo Shesh. Vallabha Bhattacharya first offered the remnants of the Lord's food to Srila Rupa Goswami and then to Krishna Das. Mukhavasadiya Prabode Kodailo Shoyan, Apane Bhatta Kodem Prabor Pada Sambahan. The Lord was then given spices to purify his mouth. Afterwards he was made to rest, and Vallabha Bhattacharya personally massaged his legs. Prabhu Patailo Tade Kodite Bojane, Bojan Kodi Aila Teho Prabhu Charane. While Vallabha Bhattacharya was massaging him, the Lord asked him to go take prasadam. After taking prasadam, he returns to the lotus feet of the Lord. Enokale Aila Raghu Pati Upadhyay, Tiduhita Pandit Bodo Vaishnav Mahashoy. At that time, Raghupati Upadhyay of the Tiruhita district arrived. He was a very learned scholar, a great devotee, and a respectable gentleman. Asiteho koilo prabhur charana vandhan, Krishna mati rahu boli prabhur vachan. Raghupati Upadhyay first offered his respects to Mahaprabhu, and the Lord gave him his blessings, saying, always stay in Krishna consciousness. Shuni anandita oilo upadhyaya man, Prabhu tade kohilo, kaha Krishna varnan. Raghupati Upadhyay was very pleased to hear the Lord's blessings. The Lord then asked him to describe Krishna. So this is a significant section of Chaitanya Charitamrita, we can say. And these are verses which are, quoted in many places by our gurus. And so this is significant also, the fact that Mahaprabhu, he requests Raghupati Upadhyay to say something, because there's only two prominent occasions I can think of where Mahaprabhu is asking for instruction from somebody else. Normally Mahaprabhu is, as in his instruction of Rupa and Sanatana, normally Mahaprabhu is in the seat of the acharya, of the teacher, and he's instructing a student. That's in many cases. But very few cases do we see it the other way around, where Mahaprabhu is putting another person in the position of the instructor, of the teacher. He's saying, I actually want to hear from you. And so the most prominent is with Ramananda Rai, as recorded in chapter 8 of the Madhya Lila, very extensive discussion. And then this is another significant occasion when Mahaprabhu asks Raghupati Upadhyay, I want to hear from you. You tell me something about Krishna. And then there's like 3 verses here, all of which are very much appreciated by our Guru Varga. And I believe Raghupati Upadhyay is a disciple of Madhavendra Puri. Okay, so Mahaprabhu has asked Raghupati Upadhyay, you please tell me about Krishna, describe Krishna to me. Nija Krita Krishna Lila Shloka Podilo, Shuni Maha Prabha Maha Prema Vesha Hoilo, When Raghupati Upajjhaya was requested to describe Krishna, he began to recite some verses he had personally composed about Krishna's pastimes. Hearing those verses, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was overwhelmed with ecstatic love. And so this is the first of these 3 verses. Shrutim apare smritam itare bharatam anye bhajantu bhavavitaha aham iha nandam vande yasya linde param brahma. So this is a fairly well-known verse. Srila Sridhar Maharaj includes it in Prapana Jivanamrita. And maybe it's in the section on acceptance of the favorable, maybe. And also in Golden Volcano of Divine Love, Srila Sridhar Maharaj discusses this verse. Very nice verse, beautiful verse. Raghupati Upajjhaya recited, "Those who are afraid of material existence worship the Vedic literature. Some worship Smriti, the corollaries to the Vedic literature, and others worship the Mahabharata. As far as I am concerned, I worship Krishna's father, Maharaj Nanda, in whose courtyard the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, is playing." So, in this world, persons who are entangled in material existence, they are all fearful of the reactions of this worldly plane, and they're trying to get relief from them in different ways by following different lines of thought in the Vedic scriptures. Some more in the realm of karma, activity, regulated activity, and some more in the area of jnana, knowledge, more subtle sphere. And so there are so many different ways in which persons are trying to find relief in this world. And so then Raghupati Upajjhaya is saying, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm worshipping Nanda Maharaj. Why? Because Yasya Linde Para Brahma, because that Param Brahma, and it's significant that this name is chosen. Brahma is referring to a very abstract, remote manifestation of the Lord. And generally the Vedas, they are describing that aspect of the Lord as being this undefined, impersonal, vast, formless being. So, something very abstract and unattainable, in the sense that you cannot really relate with that, in a direct or a personal way. So here, it's very, from where I'm sitting, it's very humorous. He's saying that Param Brahma, he's not saying Krishna, he's deliberately using this phrase, Param Brahma, this very abstract, supreme, absolute being. He's playing in Nanda Maharaj's backyard. That this great Brahma, which so many yogis and jnanis are performing so many austerities to try to get some touch of, Nanda Maharaj has him playing in his garden. So therefore, I would say that whatever Nanda Maharaj did is the right path. So I'll follow Nanda Maharaj. I'll do what Nanda Maharaj did. I'll worship him. If I am told that all of you are following these very difficult and convoluted paths in the hope of getting some touch of that great absolute being. But if I'm told I can have connection with that being in a very direct way, in a very simple way, in a very tangible way, then why will I not go with that? That must be a better approach to make. Srila Sridhar Maharaj in Golden Volcano of Divine Love, he gives this example. I think it's some type of Indian expression. That if somebody tells you that a hawk has come and snatched your nose away, then what will you do? Will you go running after that hawk to try to get your nose back? Or, it's very Indian, I guess. Or will you first check to see if the nose has really left your face and if it really happened? So in other words, why take a very complicated, abstruse, and convoluted route, difficult route, if you're told you can have it in a very easy and a very direct way? You don't need to go, you can just go from here to here. You don't need to go on this big obstacle course. It's not necessary. It's right here in front of you. So Nanda Maharaj, he's approaching the Lord with his simple heart's devotion. And so it is possible to have such a relationship with the Supreme Entity. So Bhagavati Upajjhaya is saying, let these people do as they like, following all these different paths in the scriptures, but I'm just going to worship Nanda Maharaj. I'm worshipping the devotees of Krishna. They've got a better deal. They're having a direct personal relationship. So I'm gonna go with that route. Thank you very much. Hage koho Prabhu Vakya Upajjhaya kohilo, Raghupati Upajjhaya Namaskar kohilo. When Raghupati Upajjhaya was requested by the Lord to recite more, he immediately offered his respects to the Lord and granted his request. And this is another verse very well known to us. Kam prati katai tam ishe samprati kova pratitim mayatu gopati tanaya kunje gopavaduti vitam brahma. To whom can I speak who will believe me when I say that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is hunting the gopis in the bushes by the banks of the river Jamuna? In this way, the Lord demonstrates his pastimes. And again here, the Lord is referred to as Brahma here. So again, this great absolute being, how could I tell anybody that he's engaged in these type of affairs with the beautiful damsels of Vrindavan? And this verse is very, very special to us, right? Because this verse, Gurudev quoted this verse when he was invited to speak at the opening of the Chandradoy Mandir, 1973. Srila Gurudev, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, there's that famous photo, right? Srila Sridhar Maharaj and Srila Swami Maharaj sitting on the same Vyasasana and Gurudev seated at their feet. And so Srila Swami Maharaj and Srila Sridhar Maharaj spoke, and then unexpectedly Srila Swami Maharaj invited Gurudev to speak. And Gurudev told that story so many times. He was very surprised. He wasn't expecting to be asked to speak. And so he told how he stood up, like thinking, what will I say? What will I say? And he was starting with Om Jnana Timirandasya and thinking, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? And then he thought, you know what? I just have to be myself. Just have to speak directly. Just speak from the heart like that. And then he was inspired. Very wonderful inspiration. He quoted this verse. To whom can I say, and who will believe me that the supreme absolute truth is hunting the cowherd girls in the bushes of Vrindavan? Who can believe this? And then he explained, and he used this as a parallel with Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada's preaching. That, who will believe that this Abai Babu, that's how he would call Swami Maharaj before he was a sannyasi. Abai, his name was Abai. That AC, Abai Charanaravinda, right? So Gurudev had known Srila Swami Maharaj as like a father or an uncle. And he lived in his house next door to him in Calcutta for long periods of time, over a period of years. They used to sit at the same table and take together. Swami Maharaj taught him Bhagavad Gita. And he was a family man. He had children. He had a business. So everyone had known Srila Swami Maharaj previously as a householder, with his business, was not a very prominent person. And not only that, but within the Gaudiya mission, there were so many great and powerful preachers. Goswami Maharaj and Madhav Maharaj and Keshav Maharaj, like powerful preachers who had been very prominent in the time of Saraswati Thakur and expanded their preaching afterwards also. So so the Swami Maharaj was the last person anybody would have expected to become this great world guru. He was the last person. And it was Saraswati Thakur's great heartfelt desire that Krishna consciousness would be spread around the world. And it was something he spoke about a lot, but none of his disciples were really able to fulfill that. And so then that Swami Maharaj, he was the one who fulfilled that desire. Nobody would have expected that. Nobody would have expected that. So it was very original and also very apt, very fitting glorification of Gurudev. Very brilliant, original, and appropriate glorification. To whom can I tell and who would believe that this Abai Babu, he would become this great Jagat Guru and spread Krishna consciousness all over the world? Nobody would have expected that. And everyone was so happy with that opening. And Krishnadas Babaji was there and he shouted out, like Hari Bol or something like that. So this verse is very special for us because we remember that moment of Gurudev. This is from here. I think it's originally from here. It's a verse of Raghupati Upajjhaya. But actually, Srila Sridhar Maharaj has mentioned in one place that it's a verse of Madhavendra Puri. But I don't think it's recorded anywhere. It's recorded later in the purport. It says this verse was also later included in the Padyavali, which is a verse collection of Rupa Goswami. But I think this is the first place it appears, and it's generally attributed to Raghupati Upajjhaya, but it may be originally from Madhavendra Puri. Prabhu kohin kahate ho pore Krishna lila, prema veshe Prabhu deho mana yaila. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu requested Raghupati Upajjhaya to continue speaking about the pastimes of Sri Krishna. Thus the Lord was absorbed in ecstatic love, and his mind and body slackened. Purport: our minds and bodies are always engaged in material activities. When they are activated on the spiritual platform, they slacken on the material platform. Very nice. Prema dekhi upadhyaye hoilo chamatkar, manushya nahe ho Krishna kodilo nirdar. When Raghupati Upajjhaya saw Mahaprabhu's ecstatic symptoms, he decided that the Lord was not a human being, but Krishna himself. Prabhu ko he Upajjhaya sheshtamana kai, Shama meva padam rupam kohe Upajjhaya. Mahaprabhu asked Raghupati Upajjhaya, According to your decision, who is the foremost being? Raghupati Upajjhaya replied, Lord Shamasundar is the supreme form. And so these next few verses, they comprise this question and answer. And then each of these answers taken together forms a verse, which Gurudev liked very much. So, but we'll hear it. So, Mahaprabhu asked Raghupati Upajjhaya, who is the foremost being? Raghupati replied, Lord Shamasundar is the supreme form. Because there are so many forms of the Lord, so what is the most supreme form? So, Shamasundar means Krishna of Vrindavan, beautiful, dark Lord. Shamruper vasastan sheshtamanakai puri madhu puri vada kohe upadhyay. Of all of Krishna's abodes, which do you think is the best? Raghupati Upajjhaya said, Madhupuri or Mathura Dham is certainly the best. And this also includes Vrindavan, because, Gurudev mentioned he's indicating Vrindavan, because Vrindavan is within Mathura Mandal. Because Krishna is also in Dwarka, but it is specifically this Vrindavan Krishna who we worship as supreme. Balya poganda kaishore sheshtamana kai vaya kaishor kamjeyam kohe upadhyay. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked, of the 3 ages of Krishna, known as childhood, boyhood, and fresh youth, which do you consider best? Raghupati Upajjhaya replied, fresh youth is the best age. And this Kaishor, it is usually translated as the teenage years. Kaishor. Balya, Poganda, Kaishor, like childhood, boyhood, and teenage. So, fresh youth or teenage. Teenage, it doesn't sound very good, does it? It doesn't sound very dignified. I have to think of another word. Youth, right. Yeah, fresh youth, it sounds a little odd to our ears, but youth, say. Rasagana madhye tumi sheshtamana kai ajya eva parorasa kohe upadhyay. When Mahaprabhu asked, sometimes you'll also see it as blossoming youth. Or you hear fresh youth. Yeah, that's probably the best. Because youth is also a little too broad. But it's like that specific, like 15, really. It's like the best age, It's the best age. Krishna's, he doesn't get past 15. So Mahaprabhu asked, among all the mellows, so all the relationships with Krishna, which is the best? Raghupati Upajjhaya replied, the mellow of conjugal love is supermost. Prabhu kohe balo tattva shikaila more, eta boli shlok pore gadgada swade. Mahaprabhu then said, you have certainly given first-class conclusions. After saying this, he began to recite the full verse in a faltering voice. So this is all of these 4 answers? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 answers, then Mahaprabhu puts them together in a shloka. Shamam eva param rupam puri madhu puri vada vaya kaishor kamjeyam adya eva parodasa. The form of Shamasundar is the supreme form. The city of Mathura is the supreme abode. Lord Krishna's fresh youth should always be meditated upon. and the mellow of conjugal love is the supreme mellow. Prema veshe prabhu tade koila lingan, prema mata hoyate ho koden nartan. Mahaprabhu then embraced Raghupati Upajjhai in ecstatic love. Raghupati Upajjhai also was overwhelmed by love, and he began to dance. Deki vala bhatta mone chamatkar hoilo, dui puchani prabhor charane podilo. Vallabha Bhattacharya was struck with wonder to see Mahaprabhu and Raghupati Upajjhai dance. He even brought forward his 2 sons and made them fall down at the Lord's lotus feet. Okay. Prabhu deki bade grame sablo kahailo, Prabhu dada shane sobe Krishna bhakta hoilo. Upon hearing that Mahaprabhu had arrived, all the villagers went to see him. Simply by seeing him, they all became devotees of Krishna. Brahman sakal koden Prabhu nimantran, Vallabha tasabade koden ivadan. All the Brahmins of the village were eager to extend invitations to the Lord, but Vallabha Bhattacharya forbade them to do so. Preman made pore gosai Madhya jamonate, prayage chalai bohiha nadibo nahite. Vallabha Bhatt then decided not to keep Mahaprabhu at Arailo, because the Lord had jumped into the river Jamuna in ecstatic love. Therefore he decided to bring him to Prayag. Jaricha Prayage Jaya Koribe Nimantran Eta Boli Praboloya Korilo Gamam. Vallabha Bhatta said, if anyone likes, he can go to Prayag and extend invitations to the Lord. In this way he took the Lord with him and departed for Prayag. Gangapate Mahaprabhude Nokate Vosaya Prayage Aila Bhatta Gosayide Loya. Vallabha Bhattacharya avoided the river Jamuna. Putting the Lord on a boat in the river Ganges, he went with him to Prayag. Lokabida boye prabhu dashashvamede jaya rupa gosayire shika korana shakti sanchariya. Due to the great crowds in Prayag, Mahaprabhu went to a place called the Dashashvamedha Ghat. It was there that the Lord instructed Sri Rupa Goswami and empowered him in the philosophy of devotional service. Okay, we can stop there. It's a good place to stop. So then tomorrow we will begin to hear about Mahaprabhu's instructions to Rupa Goswami. Jai Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai, Shri Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai. We can turn that